in Hurst, and I'm actually going to film these balers. These are the Heston Massey Ferguson 2250. So these are the three. Good morning, ladies and gentle germs. Gentle germs. Isn't that a terrible thing to say to someone? Anyway, I am on my way to Binkley and Hurst out in Pennsylvania. Which one is it? I don't think it's it's the Richland town, Binkley and Hurst, for sprayer parts. I've got probably a $3,000 list of sprayer parts that I need to get for the sprayers. Just little bits and pieces. I'll tell you what the total is when I'm done, but yeah, it isn't cheap. Sprayer parts are not cheap. I'm missing nozzles, I'm missing bodies. Well, not missing them, I'm replacing bodies, body mounts. What else am I missing? There's a valve that's going to be very expensive. Hopefully they've got it. If not, they're going to have to order it in for me and direct ship it, because I need this valve. It is the select function valve. I broke it off last year, forgot all about it, and that's just that. So anyway, that's what I'm up to today. I'm pulling out on the highway here, trying to get killed, and I will meet you at the dealership. I'm going to show you some equipment that's out there, because there's always something interesting there. Always something interesting there. What do they look like? Screws. That's what they are. They're screws. Okay, so here's what I'm going to. I got to finish up that video that I started this morning on going to get those parts, and I could ask everybody to guess what is in this pile here of parts and how much money it's valued at. You probably wouldn't get it. You probably wouldn't understand it. And you probably wonder why in the hell I spent as much as I did. But there's $1,919 worth of giblets in this right here, with the exception of 3 of these. These are the springs that were missing on that big, ugly 4910 baler. So I bought all the replacement rollers. Let's see, all the replacement rollers for the needles, the Tucker fingers, or the Tucker arms, not the Tucker fingers, but the Tucker arms, the tensioner arms, and the needles. There's 30 of these things in here, so they're very expensive with hardware. Believe it or not, this is the hardware that goes to them, and this is the hardware that goes to the upper arms. These are the springs that I'm replacing, that they used fly door springs with. There's 3 of these missing, obviously, that are, I'm replacing them all. I bought 20 tines, just 20 of these pickup tines, because honestly, the tines that are on the baler, they've only got 8,000 bales through them, so they're really not, there's no need for new ones. The plunger dogs, or the hay dogs, they are going to be replaced. One of them's missing, one is a spare, but I'm replacing all the springs, because the springs go bad. They get weak, they break off, and then they don't function properly, causing you little ass aches. That baler was sold with a small 1000 PTO shaft, so I got the front half of that yoke for the large 1000, plus a new cross for that. One of the most expensive pieces are these. Now, I did this on the last baler, and the reason I did this on the last baler, hey Joe, could you get my tripod so I can explain? And I'm going to do this. So, I know there's a lot of people that think I'm half-baked and crazy, but that's okay, because I know I am. And I know there's people who don't agree with what I do half the time. A lot of people's problems with these balers are quite simple. They're in this box. And in this box is $158 worth of glove, and it takes 6 of them. And I did this to the other baler as well. And the current owner of the other baler that I rebuilt cannot be happier with his purchase, because that baler it's like, he says it's like a sewing machine. He says it's just a good sewing machine, not some piece of junk. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of problems that people have are right here. Now, on a Krone, this little ball is replaceable. But the one thing that isn't replaceable is right here, is this sweep. That's what sweeps off the bill hook. And when you have people that don't know how to push the oil pump on the lubrication part of the baler, this shaft wears. Now you can buy this shaft and put it in new, which, you know, I would recommend. If you don't have the $158, you can spend $100 on this shaft and save yourself 58 bucks, and then spend another 25 on the new knife to go on there. Or you just buy the whole new thing, where you get a new roller, which is non-replaceable, and you get the new knife, you get a freshly ground, brand new sweep there, and your shaft is good and set correctly, because this is it's a torqued part, believe it or not. So, that baler has got no new knife arms on them, and the knives are chipped up and junk. The ball, because they never hit the luber, there was never any oil that got down onto this ball, and believe it or not, yes, oil does drip down from there and gets on the ball and causes just a slight amount of lubrication. I have been known to squirt them down with chain and cable lubricant just to keep them free and lubricated so that you don't get flat spots. Because every little bit of wear on this ball is, what that does is it prevents this thing from stripping the string off of the bill hook. It'll get almost off the end of it, and then it'll hang there, and that's why your flags will just kind of bounce there and never actually bloop, go up, because they're not stripping it completely off. So, because my nephew is going to be running these balers while I'm down in North Carolina, or this particular baler while I'm in North Carolina, I decided to spend the extra money and make the thing run like a sewing machine. A damn good sewing machine. So all these bits and pieces that I've got here are money well spent. What else did I do? Oh, on your bill hooks, here's another thing. I'm going to find my bill hooks I just purchased, and I know I've said this before in the past, but and this is another thing that is kind of interesting that I found with that baler, is they mismatched all of these pins, right? These 6 pins. Now, as these things wear, and they do wear, your knotter will actually get movement up and down. So when that needle comes up and it gets tension from the string, and it moves up, if it moves up too far, that changes the timing of your knotter. Not by much, but just a little bit. Every little bit counts. The other thing that you need to replace on those knotters are the tongues from the bill hook. Okay? If your bill hook is fine, and it looks fine, and it's functioning okay, but you just start missing a knot here and there, check the rollers on your tongues. If there's flat spots, it doesn't allow it to open up far enough, and then it won't grab the twine. You'll actually have this little guy here piercing the twine as it comes around because it's not open far enough. And they do wear. I don't know what the recommended bale count is, but the baler has a shit ton of flat spots on it because the springs are too tight. Those little springs, the keeper springs that hold these, should only be just enough to hold them. They hold it open. There's really no reason to have them mashed. And a lot of people will have them so that they're mashed because they just don't know. And that creates flat spots, which creates a smaller opening, which creates a punctured string. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but it'll pierce the string, and then it'll mistie. I won't be able to cut it all the way, and it'll wrap around this thing. So if you got knotter troubles, this here is another one of those things that you really need to worry about. And this here also is another thing you need to worry about, these pins. Because if these are loose, it's just going to create too much flop in there. And actually, the one that has the small pin in it, I have a bent needle at the very top. It looks like it hit the knotter because it came up too far and hit that knotter and kind of crinkled the end of the needle. And I'll show you that. That needle costs about $600 to replace. So really, you gotta, if you're watching these videos and you have a 4910 or any Heston or any big baler for that matter, just pay attention to what I'm telling you here. Plunger dogs, these all have to work. they don't work, you got problems. Now sometimes, and I know I've said this before, sometimes you will have a droopy dog. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I can explain that to you really quickly here as soon as I find the part that I've purchased to fix droopy dogs. Okay, so these are the shafts that goes through these, okay? They really need to be pretty tight on there, because if this thing droops, you won't know what's happening. You'll just have a problem. You'll have a mistie, and then it'll work for a while. And then you'll have mistie, and then it'll work for a while. What happens is two things. You will break this spring, which is what goes on here, like so, goes through there. You'll break one of these legs off of there, which cocks this a little bit. So, and it only has half the pressure that it's supposed to have. What it'll do is it'll come out. Let's see, how does that thing go? Yeah, like, how the hell does that go? Yeah, the hay comes past and then it goes like this. If it comes back too far and droops, it can catch on the side of the bale chamber, leaving it out of the bale chamber. We'll do that for a few strokes or whatever, and then it'll catch something and then pop back in. 99% of the time, it's because you've got a broken one of these, and like one of these here will break off, and you'll have that problem. So what happens then is the hay that the plunger pushes back isn't pushed back far enough. It pushes back, but then this doesn't hold the hay in the bale chamber. It actually comes past, and when your when your needles come up, it can interfere. It can interfere with the needles, and it can also interfere with the new slice coming up, because that hay is going to come back past the knife, and that slice of hay that's coming up out of the pre-charge chamber will hit that hay, and then you're going to have a misshaped bale at the top, and maybe it's not even going to do that. If it's really bad, like you got two of them broken or out of position, then you're going to start breaking shear bolts on your stuffer fingers, your stuffer forks. So there's just a lot of little things that you got to look at and worry about with these balers that most people don't understand, because they don't work on them themselves. And just a couple of eyeballs on the machine, it's well worth it to pay attention to what the hell you're doing. So I hope this helps, and the next thing you're going to see is me working on that. I did buy Hardy sprayer parts today, but half of them were not even in stock. But I had to have my hands and eyes on the computer while they were ordering the parts, because the last couple of times I've ordered parts, you know, specialty parts, not the common parts. Common parts are easy, you know, just say, hey, I need this, this, and this, the nozzle, you give them the size, and boom, you got it. But I got a shaft in a valve, and there's two shafts that go in two different model valves, and I had the bigger valves versus the smaller valves, so I'm getting the right shaft. And there was a couple of other things that I had ordered in the past, and they gave me half of the unit, but not the right parts of the unit. Kind of drove me nuts, you know, but I got that all coming, and that's going to be here on Friday, so we're going to be spraying here probably tomorrow, putting fertilizer down, unless this rain keeps going the way it is. But other than that, thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe for more, and my lazy children over here can, you know, sit while I talk.